Sunshine.
Yo, what's going on YouTube? Charizma here, and yes, we all know the cynical and meta-algorithmic reason why I'm doing this video. The Black Clover anime is ending soon. Yes, really, but not really at the same time because the manga is still going on as we speak, but with all of these announcements scheduled and with where the story is positioned, I guess, I wouldn't be shocked if the series ends by next year. Heartbroken, but not shocked. There's all that, and then there's also the fact that this is the 1-year anniversary of the first time I tackled this list, around the same time last year, around the time Black Catcher really started blowing up. We'll get to that, trust me. But of course, copyright has always been the main antagonist of this story. My channel is a ticking time bomb, you know, but let's just enjoy the ride, shall we? Anyways, Black Clover is a series that I've been on and off with for a little while. I first got into it after catching a random episode of it on Adult Swim's Toonami in 2018, which, by the way, shout out to Adult Swim's Toonami. I feel like it's not talked about enough. And my pattern usually goes, I watch/read the series until a major story arc ends, and then I take a break and catch up with it later. I'm still actively reading the manga now because how could I ever put it down in the middle of a story like this? You won't have to worry about any manga spoilers from me for this video, but let me just say this one time. Union mode. Yes, nigga. Now, Black Clover has 13 main openings and a leftover one from the spin-off series Squishy Black Clover. 14 in total, and of course, the criteria for this ranking will be, as always, music, artistic direction, plot relevance, and the almighty nostalgia factor. A lot of people have been saying I should make some adjustments to this criteria. No. From the beginning, I'ma just make it known that all of the main openings are just absolute heat. So similar to the ending video, there will be a lot of nitpicking and nostalgia making the difference here in these picks. What do you want me to do? And please check out that Black Clover ending video, by the way, by clicking the link in the description below. Thanks. But anyways, enough backstory. Let's get to the cancer, with every Black Clover opening ranked from worst to best. Hopefully this video stays up this time. Number 14.
It's possible.
I mean, yeah, the art style here is very unique and really fun to look at. It's like Black Clover meets Cyberpunk, you know? And yeah, the voice actors of Asta and Yuno sing this song, which is awesome on a meta level, but like, come on, this was always going to be last on the list, right? Let's be real. The entire OP is 90% recycled animation. I almost feel catfished in a way because, you know, it begins with Asta and Yuno lip syncing and shit. I'm thinking I'm about to get a full-on performance here from my boys, but instead what I get is a bunch of recolored scenes from openings and endings like Black Rover, Haruka Mirai, Tenjo Tenge, Guess Who Is Back, you name it. Some of it works pretty okay, but like I can't not pretend like I don't know what this is, right? Like they slapped this together in about a week or so. It's not that egregious because, I mean, this is an opening for a bunch of 8-minute long episodes as a part of a mini series of a bunch of petite Clover style sketches. So, you know, who really cares in that sense? But within the context of a list like this, come on, bro, it's at the bottom. Not really much to say besides that. Check out Squishy Black Clover if you start feeling empty inside after the current anime ends, I guess. But yeah, this just can't compare to even the least impressive OP from the main series, to me at least.
I'll never ever let it go. Mugutto Black Clover.
Number 13. Despite technically being the worst ranked opening from the canon series on this list, Guess Who Is Back is more of a personal favorite for me, if I do say so myself. I see a lot of mixed reviews for this OP, and I guess it just comes down to the type of OP that you enjoy, really. If you like your OP with a ton of action and a lot going on in it, then yeah, this might not be the one for you. The majority of this OP is filled with a bunch of still shots of the main characters in the middle of attacking, some of them, with just a little bit of hair animation as well, but the first scene is set up almost like a photo shoot for Vogue, and people like Luck, Vanessa, Charmy, and Ghosh Look like they were just born to be models. Charmy's not so much, she just wants to eat your kids. This arc was the first time that the Black Bulls all went on a mission together, so it does make sense why they occupy most of the scenes in this OP, with a little bit of Kahano and Kyoto sprinkled on as well. During this time, we got to see things like Gray's true form, Charmy's hidden power, and Luck and Magna's rivalry together, as well as all of the other Black Bulls just generally pushing their magic to the limits, including Asta, who would tap into his devil powers for the first time here against Veto. Ultimately though, I think this opening suffers from being too associated with the Seabed Temple arc. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good depending on the level of which you enjoy Kahano and Kyoto, but in the grand scheme of Black Clover, this arc is pretty forgettable, let's be real. And if this opening isn't enough to transcend the arc, then unfortunately it'll forever be overlooked in favor of a Sky and Blue or a Black Catcher, just to name a couple, you know? Number 12. Bit of a soft spot for me when it comes to this OP because, full disclosure for a second, back in December, I caught COVID. Yes, it was terrible. And right before Christmas too. So as a way to pass the time, I guess, in between working on my Hunter x Hunter videos, I spent it catching up on the Black Clover anime in preparation for the time skip. So yes, even though it's fairly recent, this OP is nostalgic for me in some sense. It actually hurts me to rank it in 12th place, but honestly, that just speaks more to the quality of openings that we have here. Stories is one of my personal favorite themes from Black Clover, and boy is some of the camera work in this OP amazing. The beginning scene of Asta training with his Demon Slayer's sword is beautiful. Sunset and all. This title card is spectacular, my boy. Then the scene of Yuno watching over this forested area is just as amazing. The background looks so realistic, and I've always loved the subtle air horn in the background coming from this song as well around this part. Following this is, I guess, why the OP fell this far down on the list. Nothing bad here, I love the art, but it's honestly just a bunch of still shots of people like the Black Bulls, obviously, Kid Julius, the Vermilions looking strong, each of the individual Magic Knight squad captains, memories of past Black Clover arcs, and hints to the Dark Triad. Again, the visuals here are great, just not the most exciting in the world, you know? And the plot went knee deep into an anime exclusive training arc, so there's that as well. The music is definitely my favorite part of this entire OP though. It just isn't enough for me to place this above the nostalgia of my next pick, I guess. Number 11. All right, man. Now we're getting to the really hard shit. Already, I love Bish, so seeing this at number 11 hurts me on the inside, just like my previous pick. The introduction scene also immediately smacked me with nostalgia. A grimoire leaking out vibrant red and blue auras, and then the drop? Whew, take me back to 2018, please. The backgrounds all throughout this OP are sick as fuck, and the same goes for the transitions between each member of the Black Bulls here in the beginning. The red and blue Blood and Crypt color scheme is not just a really fun touch stylistically, but is also in line with a lot of the things being introduced around this time. The theme of two sides clashing against one another, the Clover Kingdom and the Diamond Kingdom, nobles versus commoners, the Eye of the Midnight Sun versus the Magic Knights, etc. Meeting Luck, Mars, and Leopold, three pretty underrated characters from the series, to be honest. Yuno summoning the Wind Spirit, Asta versus Mars, meeting each of the Magic Knight captains. Painted Black was the theme song to it all. The second version of this OP is slightly less good because they took out the Asta vs Mars battle scene, but it does have its fair share of pretty backgrounds as well, and does a great job with showcasing the rapidly expanding cast of characters. It's held back a bit by all of the hype beastie OPs that fill up my top 10 and definitely my top 5, but this OP will always have a special place in my heart, being my first opening to the series. Sorry, Haruka Mirai, it is what it is. Number 10. part 2 of that quarantine binging session that I mentioned earlier on this list. The main reason why the Everlasting Shine OP has the edge over something like Stories, and even something like Painted Black to a certain extent, is a fairly simple one, and that's that there's just way more motion in this opening. The black lightning in this scene of Asta raising his sword makes it look so awesome, and Undine's magic spell of Water Knights surrounding Laurel Pechica and her guardian Gaja is just dazzling to say the least. But more than anything though, my favorite part of this OP is the shine that it gives to the Magic Knight squad captains. In the beginning, we get a beautiful display of Asta standing in front of all of the squad flags and CGI, and during the title card, we then see each of the squad captains blended together with images of their squad members, excluding the Black Bulls. Shake my head. But no need to fear, because we get our fair share of Yami during the main action scene of this opening, alongside all of the other captains battling against Charlotte. Yami, that is, sparring against Charlotte, not Charlotte versus all of the captains in the 8v1. That's crazy. And to top it all off, the studio gives us this scene of Asta and Yuno taking off, leaving a trail of aura behind them, which I think just works really well with the music, and it's pretty to look at. What gives this OP the edge over Painted Black specifically for me though, might just be the anime exclusive arc about Dazu. Not only is her distrust of the Magic Knights a rather novel take on the populace's opinion of the Clover Kingdom, but I also enjoyed the studio's attempt at establishing an LGBTQ storyline in a shonen. It was pretty cool. Overall, this OP is definitely a charm on the eyes for one, and if you ever return to this section of the anime, you're going to be in for some absolute undercover gems of the Black Clover series, that's for sure.
You shine like a diamond.
Number 9. If anyone is out there watching this now that was around the first time I did this list, you know, when I first rebranded this channel, then you know that I had this at the bottom initially. And actually, it wasn't until just recently that I realized how great this song was. It was never bad, don't get me wrong, not even close. But one day, I was just chilling, you know, taking a shower, getting all clean and shit.
Hello? Huh? Servant woman, bring me a drying cloth at once!
Started humming this to myself, and then it just hit me like, wow. This song is fucking incredible. From a pure music standpoint, Gamushara is definitely in the upper echelon of Black Clover themes. In fact, I'd say Miyuna is a part of that holy trinity of the Black Clover sound. From a visual standpoint, I'd say the first version doesn't flow as well as the second, but once the Witch's Forest arc begins, oh boy. Asta attacking Ladros and Noelle battling against Fauna look beautiful. And then combine that with these shots of the Black Bulls fading in and out of each other in the beginning, Asta sulking over the loss of his arms in a battle against Vetso, this quick scene of the Queen of Witches, and just any scene showcasing Vanessa or her past, and it makes for a rather fun watch, you know? From a plot perspective, the Witch's Forest is just as awesome too. We got to see Asta debut his first actual signature move on Ladros that's not just sword go. In conclusion, this OP is a slept-on gem, even for me, and I will give it its respect, but all of the openings after this really start to pick up, unfortunately, so I can't push it up any further, I'm sorry. Number 8. You know, when I first started this list, Sky and Blue was down slightly further than 8th place, but since I've been working on this video, I just can't seem to get this song out of my freaking head, man. It's not my favorite Black Clover OP song of all time, but I would be lying if I didn't admit that it was damn catchy. I would also be lying if I didn't say that this OP is much more beautiful than I remember it being for some reason. Like, they really brought out the big budget for this boy here. I really like the glow used on some of the outlines here, and I especially enjoy the scenes without much shading at all. It just helps the art pop so much. Another nice touch is seeing the elves living all happily and peacefully, then in a quick flash it all turning into Patri, aka the impostery. Yeah, it was okay. Heading up the elven reincarnation revenge scheme. And guess what? We haven't even gotten to the good part yet. Look at Raya's shirt just flowing in the wind here, man. Detail like that tends to go very underappreciated, but not here. Same thing goes for the fluidity in Ril's worms as he attacks, for the smoothness of Mereoleona running on them, and then for Asta flying beside her and then slicing through said worms with such excitement on his face. This scene of Asta and Yuno taking on the actual freshly reincarnated Lick, while not on the same level as the actual fight scene, obviously, is still very spectacular in its own right. Musically, I guess I'd put it at about the same level as a Gamushara or Painted Black, but visually, it is certainly a step above a lot of the OPs thus far. Really more than anything though, this OP is above the previous two because of when it represents in the story. Black Clover completely spirals out of control, but in the best way possible around this time. This is my favorite part of the series, so all of the OPs from around this time had to be in my top 10 for sure. The 8th opening to Black Clover is great, but there are still many songs that surpass Sky and Blue in my opinion, so 8th place it is for now. See, 8 and 8. It all works out in the end. Number 7. Graffiti Page is super underrated. This OP has some of the best animation in the entire series, even in its first few seconds, you know? These fade to black shots of various magic knights standing in different parts of nature relative to their magic type is hype as hell, man. Goddamn. The red and green Asta and Yuno scene during the verse sounds amazing as well, and I love the writing and the squad crest that pop up in the background too. I'm weak, of course, for any shaky camera shot in anime, so all of the Magic Knight captains standing on top of the World Capitol building during a rainy day here looks cool as hell, and anything Mereoleona does is just top tier. I'm a bit biased towards this section of the story because of her introduction, but she's just a fun character, man. Plus, her training exercise led to one of the funniest episodes of Black Clover ever in my opinion. You know, when Yami turned peeping on the girls in the hot springs into training. Classic. But back to the OP, and the rest of it basically just showcases a bunch of new and old characters involved with the Royal Knight Selection Tournament, including a nod to all of the sibling turmoil taking place too, in House Silva as well as House Ruler Case. And also it does have one of the best fight scenes of any Black Clover OP. There's just so much going on. My god. I even have to pause it sometimes just to catch some of the more subtle parts of the battle, like Kirsch dodging Mimosa's plant blast with such absolute grace, and Luck just basically being Jesus. And at this point in the OP, I'm also really appreciating how much detail they put into these facial expressions, man, despite them only being for split seconds most of the time, you know? The day ones know that I had this OP way higher on my original list, like rubbing shoulders with Black Rover high, but for one reason or another, it still doesn't get the praise it should from the fandom, so yeah, this is me trying to be objective here. Number 6. Oh, well, you know, both the Kankaku Pierrot songs landed next to each other. Story time. The first time I'd ever laid eyes on Black Clover was episode 12, when it was Yuno that was actually the one that drew me into the series. When the Golden Dawn were busy on that mission escorting the noble Salim Day Pain in the Ass or whatever his name was. Literally the second to last episode before the OP was changed. And to this day, I still don't think I've ever watched all of the first 11 episodes. I've seen the episodes where Asta gets his grimoire and joins the Black Bulls, obviously, but still, because it was so disjointed for me, the beginning of Black Clover isn't nearly as sentimental for me as it might be for others that started with the series from day one. However, I can't deny that I'm still a sucker for first OPs, and Haruka Mirai is still the undisputed theme for Black Clover, that's for sure. First of all, more so than any other OP, I think this OP really makes the most of the flipping pages in a book stylization, which, you know, Black Clover, grimoires, you get it. This OP is essentially a 90-second crash course of the series, to be honest. We see all of the Magic Knight squad's crests swirling around in the beginning, before we get introduced to the main character himself, and his relationship with Yuno, which is the standard shonen protagonist, you have more talent than me, but I'm the hardest worker rivalry model that never gets old for me. You know, it's all but exactly the same as a bunch of other series that I've read already, but this time it's magic, like it's different. Not really, but no, really, this song gets me so pumped up every time I hear it, specifically that lone guitar that leads into the full drop. Oh, you gotta love it. And you also gotta love this skirmish between Asta and Yuno and these random hooded mages. It's just a simple way to showcase the two main characters and, you know, to remind everyone that, yes, this is very much a shonen battle anime. And, oh, yeah, Noel. Whoever animated this, that's a W. It's just a really solid OP, you know? Would have been top 5 if the animation was a little more polished, I guess. But yeah, I will not tolerate any hate for Black Clover because although up until The Witch's Forest, yes, the series is a bit meh, the animation does get better and, you know, this song just hits different during the climax of Asta and Yuno versus Licht. Like, what do you want me to do? Number 5. Okay, top 5 now, and man is it getting hard for me to find reasons to pit one OP above another because yeah, we've officially entered the territory of all the god tier, or rather devil tier, Black Clover intros. The thing you're all here for, really. Now, we've watched plenty of scenes so far of members of the Black Bulls being showcased individually, but this one, man, it's safe to say that it's my favorite. The washed out color palette, the lack of black outlines, the different colored lasered things dancing in the background, and seeing Gordon and Gray yell for the first time, foreshadowing that fantastic episode when Henry was introduced. I've always adored the first section of this OP. Once again, Noel gets the most melodramatic pose of the entire thing, and that's great. What's also great is this shot of a few side characters, Leopold, Soul, Real, etc., which kind of reminds me of that kimono scene from the Naruto opening Go, now that I think about it. Mimosa being singled out from the Golden Dawn, Zora's trap magic, Henry with feathers animated so well that they look like snow, Yuno's aura when he merges with Belle. This OP is full of so many visual tidbits that you could just cut out and turn into a bunch of amazing gifs. It also only helps when a song like Just Add Ice, with a hook like that, is playing on the big speakers downstairs and just demolishing my eardrums, but in the best way possible. A headbanger to say the least. Don't even get me started on the plot and nostalgia from this part of the story as well. Yeah, tournaments and all that obviously is great. But also, Julius versus Patri, one of the most popular fights of the entire series, and of course, the Vengeance Licht mystery surrounding it, which the second version of this OP decides to focus on a lot more. I love it. Both versions of this OP are great, no matter which is your preference. And I'll always have a soft spot for this OP visually, musically, and canonically because it just gets my mana flowing, bro. That's all I can say. Can I just weeb out and mosh in my room in peace, please? And also, the Magic Knights should start wearing their hoods more. It looks so badass. Number 4. It's not better than Black Rover, and I'll have a death match with anyone right now that disagrees with me. Fight me right now. My body is ready. But it is still Vic Blanca, so respect where it's due. It's a great song, obviously. And if you prefer it over the god Black Rover, then I completely respect your woeful ignorance. Mudslinging war aside for a second, this OP is so Black Clover. This opening is Black Clover in a lot of ways, so I can understand its popularity. The majority grayscale effect that the studio uses for this OP was risky, but perfectly depicts the far darker tone of the series following the introduction of the word devil Zagrid. The rain adds so much to the tone of the first half of the OP. Raindrops and piano are a match made in heaven, obviously. And Patri syncing up with Vic Blanca's vocals here for this small section is probably my favorite tidbit of the entire thing. Then seeing him embraced by the real Licht, it's quick, but it really makes you feel kind of bad for the guy, you know? He only tried to be a martyr for his people. So much of the story was unraveling here as well, as you can see with the introductions of Sekre and Lumiere, as well as the final battle for the Clover Kingdom and the persecution of Asta and Sekre afterwards. While there isn't too much actual fighting in this OP, besides in the second version, but nobody talks about the second version, the dark magic matter surrounding the devil here in this spin around shot of him facing off against Asta and Yuno has an incredible texture to it. And I also enjoy the quick cuts of each of the main mages from this part of the arc as well towards the end. It matches so well with the music, and Lumiere's eyes are dope as hell, man. I don't care if that sounds sus. If there's anything holding this OP back, though, from being any higher on my list, it's my next pick. That's all I can say. Sorry, not sorry. Remember to take a few puffs from your inhaler when you're typing your angry comments down below telling me to kill myself, because I'm sure you're hyperventilating right now. You're so angry. Suck it, Instagram and Twitter. Number 3. Before I even get to anything important, these clouds, bruh. With the piano playing in the background, this is the most elegant and tranquil intro scene ever. It's the pink and the purples, bro. And the way Nero sits on Lumiere's statue's head, it's just so relaxing, and also great foreshadowing for 100 episodes into the future. Every time I watch this OP, man, it gives me goosebumps. I cannot express to you how many heart eyes I have for this OP. Let's get to the elephant in the room, right? For those of you that are still sore that I consider this better than Black Catcher, let me break it down for you, right? This song is one of my favorite anime songs of all time. Maybe it's too early to call. Everything about it is beautiful, from the drums to the background vocals. Let's move on now to the static scene of all of the bulls chilling real quick. It's such a busy scene, and it's just so wholesome. From Vanessa being drunk and naked in the corner to Magna and Lux roughhousing, it was just a great sitcom-esque shot that perfectly captures all of the Black Bulls' antics. And Vic's vocals in the background, whew! Those melodies, it really brings a tear to the eye, you know? Then there's some pretty cool slowly panning shots of Yuno, Klaus, Mimosa, Teresa, and all the orphans, and the Magic Knight captains ending with Julius and Marks that lead into the next tear-jerking moment of the OP, this fist bump scene between Asta and Yuno, with silhouettes of their history behind them. Once again, Vic comes through, providing your boy with another eargasm. The GOAT! But then the budget really kicks in, because similar to the Haruka Mirai intro, but this time on a larger scale, this fight in the middle of the Clover Kingdom is just astonishing. And likewise goes for the battle between Yami and Lick right afterwards. Don't get me wrong, it's nowhere near as dark and somber as Black Catcher, obviously, but that's because the series was in a different place overall. And even though it began lighthearted, the OP certainly picks up by the end. That scene of Asta swinging his sword at the end? Let me stop. And speaking about this time in the series, I guess that's ultimately why I couldn't make this my favorite full stop. For as beloved as this OP is to me, until I started this list, I all but forgot about this arc entirely, what with reincarnation and more devils taking center stage. Overall, I guess if you prefer Black Catcher, then to each their own, sure, whatever. But for me, the art, it's a 10. The nostalgia, it's a 10. For the plot, it's like a 7, 7.5, but for music, it's a 42, so yeah, Black Rover is awesome. Number 2.
Yeah.
Right, so at first when I saw this OP, I got a bit of a Down by Law type of vibe from it, and that it sounded way more dancey and poppy. It wasn't what I was expecting for such a dark arc, alright? No pun intended. This OP took a few episodes to grow on me, okay? But I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the catchiness of the song and how it just makes my body want to move. I don't know if it's the sheer quality of episodes that we've been getting ever since the time skip began in the anime. I don't know what it is, but this has quickly grown from being an okay-ish opening to being damn near my favorite from the whole series. Only one other opening rivals this one in terms of the quick pace and the balls to the wall mayhem, you know? The entire first half is basically just set dressing for the story, showcasing everyone after 6 months of training, including the thickest character of all time. No, I'm not talking about post-time skip Charmy. Of course, I'm talking about Asta. And we also get the proper introductions of Xenon, Vonica, and Dante of the Dark Triad, as well as the head devil himself, Lucifero. Then Asta just completely dominates the show, wielding Santoryu almost as great as the almighty Zoro himself to battle against a bunch of Vanica's dark disciples. And the song here is just so good, man. Woo! Goosebumps galore continues as we also see Yuno stand off with Xenon, Noel's clash against Vonica, Yami squaring up with Dante, the Tree of Clifford, Black Bull's Vice Captain Noct, and Asta back-to-back with Yami. Knowing that the anime is ending soon might be cheating, but this opening only gets better for me as we get closer and closer to the end. And the battles, bruh, that I know I'm about to watch only turns up the hype meter even more as these episode titles pop up on screen. Dante versus Asta and Yami is one of my favorite fights in the series, I'ma just say that. And then there's that Asta scene from the beginning that's a nod to the very first OP, Haruka Mirai, and the glimpses of Liebe and Lasita towards the end. Yeah, there's just a lot going on in this OP. It's an opening like this that makes you think that it can't be anything short of a shame that the anime will be ending right before the largest scale battle in the entire series yet. The only reason why my number one is what it is still is because of the nostalgia factor, but I can totally see this eventually becoming my overall favorite as time passes. And that brings us to number one. Oh, what could it be? So, summer 2019, right? I took a break from Black Clover to catch up on One Piece because I was fully caught up with the series and on a come down from the Royal Magic Knights exam. I read some of the manga afterwards, but that only lasted a few days. Then 6 months later, and I start seeing more and more clips of the Black Clover anime really getting great following the anime battles of Julius versus Lick and Asta and Yuno versus the real Lick. So during New Year's 2020, I decided to catch up on where the anime was at that point, and I have never been more into the series, to say the least. Before we even get to the actual OP, I just real quick had to discuss why this arc is the best Black Clover has to offer so far. So many branch plots are tied up nicely here, like Langris's deep-rooted hatred and classism, and the secrets behind legendary mages like the first Wizard King and Noelle's mother Asier. Turns out Nozel Nisama is a big softie after all. An OP like right now is just the perfect anthem to all of this action. It's debatable whether or not this can be considered a war arc, but that doesn't stop this OP from carrying itself like it's made for a war arc. It starts off simply setting the stage, you know, showing the elves' happier lives from the past, including the marriage of Licht and Tetia, until all of the humans arrive and just fuck everything up, which then transforms the once peaceful elves into vengeful murderers, now possessing a bunch of modern day mages. Next is my favorite title sequence of all of the OPs, because here we see Asta and Yuno looking and feeling like the two main heroes of this arc, which they pretty much were, you know, being at the center of every major fight, essentially acting as stand-in captains for their squads in the absence of their actual captains and about half of their teammates. But what really hits me in the otaku feels is when the hook finally comes in, man. And it's just action galore. For all of the melodramatic shots that Noelle has had that I love, because best girl, like, she's a tsundere, what you want me to do? Seeing her battle against Fauna with her new Valkyrie armor in tandem with Empire's hook truly made her look like a badass, man, and not like a fashion model for once. And then seeing two of my favorite characters, House Vermilion, looking good, man. Meriliona and Fuegoleon simultaneously unleashing full power attacks on their enemies is deeply satisfying. And what else? Yuno's football spin moves, Jack and Yami finally calling a truce, Nozel showing off his Mercury magic, Patri having a mental breakdown, Asta shattering the darkness associated with the 5-leaf clover grimoire. It's all amazing, bro. For me at least, right now is on the same level as something like a Silhouette from Naruto, and an Odd Future from My Hero Academia, in the sense that it's just one of those breakneck OPs coming at the height of the biggest arc so far that just remind you about how great it is to be a fan of this series. For an anime that's honestly been 10 out of 10 in the OPs department, this is the best of the best for me. During one of the best arcs, with the best music and heaps of nostalgia, this is my favorite overall, and it doesn't get talked about enough, man. What a shame. But here I am, of course, Charizma-sama, constantly putting respect on underappreciated openings. I just had to pat myself on the back real quick for that one, man. Yeah, it feels good to be right. It sucks to suck. And that was every Black Clover opening, ranked from worst to best. Again, but I didn't do the whole thing with the title this time because I think it low-key messed up my clicks, my hits, my hits. The Naruto video didn't blow up like the last one did, man. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you would like me to rank next. Of course, maybe just leave general discussion about Black Clover, because I mean, I've heard rumblings that the announcement, well, by the time this video comes out, it'll already be out anyways, but at the time of recording, I've heard rumors that the announcement might be a Black Clover movie. I don't think the series is going away for good. I'll be, again, disappointed if it does, but where the manga is now, I won't be shocked. It'll just be like, you know, man, I feel like Black Clover was really starting to become like, hot take, I think Black Clover is better than I'm gonna get killed for this. I'm gonna just end the video. I'm gonna just leave a like if I'm all right. Comment, share the video, subscribe please because I'm broke. And yeah, I'm out, guys. Enjoy these last couple of episodes of Black Clover for now, and see you next time. Sat type.